fucking get loud too. What the? I'm ready to jump ship. I throw you under the bus. Don't you? Snake.
I told you this right here.
Now you fucking did it.
It's game out.
Bitch. We got my daughter today. You're a freaking liar.
Can you tell me it was me?
Yeah.
We're gonna run a jury clean.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're back to discuss episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the Traitors US Season 2. This is the Game On Bitch podcast with Kim, B, and Berto. We're going to be getting into all these shows, talking about the cast, what they're giving, what the shows are all about. And yeah, we're really excited to talk about this super hyped show, which we've all been looking forward to.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm so excited to be covering Traitors. I have gotten a few of my friends that never watched it into watching it as well. So they are hooked and I'm excited. So yes, Berto's into it also, but my other friends that are here, I also got them into it. So they're also like, oh my God, no way.
Yes, Berto is our Traitors virgin. He did not watch season 1, so he's just jumping in season 2 with all 21 celebs that we have, and he is loving it so far. So let's get into it. Okay, so we start off with season 1. We meet our cast, and I have to say, like, I think this is the perfect cast. I'm really excited to see these people play the game. I think the dynamics that we're seeing in the first episode are very interesting. We've got CT and Phaedra hitting it off. Who would have thought? A housewife and a challenger. We've got, Peppermint piecing out the beef between Parvati and Sandra, at least for the time being. Like, it's so cool to just watch these people and people I've never heard of before. Deontay Wilder, really shocking me. I mean, he's just this big teddy bear. I just love him down. He's such a softie, which I was not anticipating from, the pre-judgment that we had of the cast last episode. So yeah, super cool. They get to the mansion and it's game on. What are you guys thinking of the cast so far?
Oh, wow.
So I think the cast is really good. Like, I thought at first, like, okay, it's going to be, well, here's the thing too, though. I do feel like the gamers do sometimes coming into this have a disadvantage into this game, because I do feel like the people who are non-gamers are kind of like, oh, well, we already know that they're competitive. We already know that they're good at these games. So I do feel like in a way it could disadvantage them in the future of this game. That's just my opinion, because I feel like there's a lot of people that haven't played competition reality shows that are kind of like know a lot more about the competition reality shows of these players that have played, right? So they know a lot of them, which I was surprised. I was surprised that so many of them knew who, Sandra, Parvati, Janelle, Dan, and all these players that have played before. I'm surprised that they knew who they were. So I think that could be kind of a disadvantage to them. But I really, really like the dynamic of everybody. I think the people that haven't played the game so far or haven't played, competition reality games, I think that they are giving good drama, good, like, just, I think overall the show is about personalities, right? Like, that's what we're casting nowadays, is personalities. So I feel like it's really good. There's a lot of vibrant personalities in this house, a lot.
What about you, Berto? Any thoughts?
Listen, let me just say, I have going into this Traitors show completely blind. Okay, I never thought that, like, they actually made a mafia style show so intriguing. I was on the edge of my seat for majority of it, especially for the opening. I was like, you can really cut tension with a knife. I was looking at people like, they are gamers. Like, what is happening here? I was never seen anyone like pointing fingers, like just pa 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 right away. I'm like, y'all are doing too much. Y'all are doing way too much. But yeah, like, I'm definitely, like, already I'm sold. I love the cast. I love the people with what they picked for the Traitors, which we're going to get to that in a bit. But everything all around it, definitely a great start. really a great start for sure.
You made a good point to say, like, you know, the way that the show is shot is beautifully. Like, the production value on this show is like out of this world.
Listen. If you can, like, I don't know what the production cost for the Traitors was, but it is one of the most
High.
visually stunning reality shows I have ever seen. Like, I thought Big Brother had decent houses, but this, they got a mansion involved.
A castle,
A castle,
Scottish
a legit
chateau.
castle. Like, damn.
And let me just tell you too, like so the editing has been very interesting on some of these episodes. The first 3 I noticed, because they're kind of doing like cliffhanger kind of stuff. The way people are looking at people kind of sideways. Is that foreshadowing? Is it not foreshadowing? Also, like the way that they, like, when we talk about who they chose as traitors, like I heard that, like, you know, that happened for like hours. So
The budget is high. Okay. So let's get to these trader picks because, you know, we got lots to cover. So we get to the round table. You know, Alan was having his one-on-ones with people. We saw Johnny Banana saying, "Oh, I want to be a trader." Of course, you know, could have called that.
Wouldn't expect anything
We had
less.
CT saying that he wants to be a faithful, which I'm like, okay, CT. Like Bergie being like, "There's no fucking way I could be a trader." Like, we just had
Not be getting that read on Bergie accurate.
I told you.
1,000%.
I told y'all. Okay, so yeah, so then we get to the round table and the traders are about to be picked. And lo and behold, we called them 2 of the traders, Phaedra and Dan, the first 2 traders of the season. Woo!
Yeah. And so I heard that, like, okay, so I heard that when this whole thing happened. So basically at the round table, there was some accusations that, like, what Larsa had told Parvati, like, oh, I heard him stop right here and like tap on your shoulder or something, right? When they were going through the round circle.
She said something about she heard him lift his jacket or something and the vibrations of his jacket were in her ear or some bullshit.
So I heard that Alan Cummings walked around that table for about an hour to an hour and a half, going around in the circles. So back and forth. So that way nobody could suspect anything, because he had to do it enough times that it would confuse people. And so,
of course,
so like just even that was amazing. But I think Dan, honestly, I think Dan signed up only to be a traitor. Like, I think the only way Dan came on the show was he told production, I will only come if I'm a traitor. That is what it seemed like to me, at least, was like, there's no way I'm playing the game as a faithful. So if you don't make me a traitor, I don't want to come.
I mean, like,
okay, period.
I mean, like, let's just put it this way. Like, we all know Dan was made to be a traitor for this. So, like, obviously this was perfect. Like, we got what we wanted. We wanted Dan to be a traitor. He wanted to be a traitor. Everybody's happy. Okay. I don't think we have anything to worry about for that.
Yeah. I just think it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, obviously as a traitor, you have a leg up, right? So you're coming in kind of with a leg up into the game.
Well, I'm going to say what they did this season, though, is they made it harder for the traders, which is good. They did this by introducing, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, the shield, the concept of the shield. They also did this with the twist that we're going to see at the end of episode 3. They're making it harder for the traders. It's not going to be just an easy wash. And I actually prefer that. I think that that's a necessary twist. I think it shouldn't be that easy, because you want to have a fair chance. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, super hype. Okay, so we're at the round table.
Yeah.
Dan and Phaedra get picked. They pull the blindfolds off, and Miss Janelle turns over to John Burkow and says, "Are you okay? You were having a breathing attack, and I thought you, like, are you sure you're okay?" Like, basically insinuating that he is a traitor. To which John responds, "I'm slightly asthmatic. Sorry, like, you know, more on that later." But yeah, so they are pointing fingers straight out the gate. You've got Janelle going for John. You've got Larsa trying it with Parvati. I mean, already out the gate telling her, "I think it's you." Parvati's like, girl, you are barking up the wrong tree.
Can I-
Like, this is
yeah, I was
not
gonna
what
say-
you want. You better
Can I
calm
just say Larsa
down.
had no idea who Parvati is, and I would not be accusing Parvati of being a
Yeah,
traitor right out the
yeah,
gate. Let me just
yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what though? She's onto something. I mean, she wasn't a traitor at that moment, but now
I mean, not
Parvati's
at that
got some
moment,
heat.
but yeah, I know. But like, I'm just Parvati played it off really well though. Like, because Parvati could have been like, "Well, I heard him tap your shoulder." She could have either done that or played it off the way that she did. So I think she did pretty well playing it off.
Like, I mean, like, here's my thing. Even if Parvati was a traitor, I still think she would have reacted the exact same way. But even then, like, Larsa kind of put a Larsa also kind of put a little bit of heat on her as well, because it's just like, I kind of feel the heat of the vibrations thinking that it was her. And it's just like, you're kind of overselling that at this point. Like, even if you're not, like, even if you, whether you're a traitor or not, you don't want to call somebody out that harshly at the right out of the gate. That's a no-no.
Leave it to the housewives to come in hot. Okay. So now we go to the challenge, and the mission is basically they have to swim in the water. Well, first untie themselves. Then they have to find on land a puzzle. And in the water, they have to put together this puzzle that's going to make a giant beacon that they're going to, light on fire in the middle of a lock. There's opportunities to get 3 shields. Like, it's just craziness with all these people. And I'm telling you, they needed those challengers in this mission, CT and Bananas, because there was no fucking way those people were going to get it together.
Nope.
So
Nope.
And can we just
Not
talk
even.
about the time? Can we just talk about the time buzzer on this freaking challenge too? Because here's the thing. There's no way that they made it on time. Like the buzzer beating challenge, all that stuff. And then I just want to say one thing about the challenges. I feel like the challenge, I like the shield thing, but like I think somebody said this on one of the podcasts, but like you have Michael Jordan's son playing a challenge for $10,000, who is a multi-billionaire, and they're like, go ahead and play it up, like you want the $10,000, right? Like, go crazy about it. And so for me, like, I think the shields are cool, but like I wish that they would do more of like an incentive, kind of like, if you guys win the challenge, we'll give you like a clue to like one of the traders or something of that sort, because I feel like the challenges are kind of just like boring, to be honest. Like,
I
they're
think
just
they would
kind of
do
filler.
that later. Sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
It's
Keep
okay.
going.
No, I'm just saying, I just feel like the challenges are kind of like, yeah, you're getting the money, cool, but like, I mean, I just feel like they're kind of just there. Like, the challenge is
I
boring.
don't think
I
so.
know.
I think it's kind of necessary. I think also, like, one, two, especially with this element of the shield, you can see, who's going for the shield. Why are they going for the shield? Are they going because they are the traitor and they want to make sure that they have a buffet of options open, or are they going because they're not the traitor and they really need protection? And then it causes this other added level of drama where it's like, okay, this person is selfish. Like, we see Janelle is being labeled selfish now by the faithfuls. It's just, I like the challenges. And of course, you got to think like, okay, the prize is what, $200,000? Yeah, you want to get that money. You want to build the money. It's about the team. I don't think anybody that's on this show is in it really for the money, actually. I mean, these people are all super famous, right? And successful. So, but it does add an element to the show. Like, let's see, put yourself to the test. People just are there for the game, is what you hear, these people saying. They're really there for the game.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I thought the first challenge was boring. I skipped right through it. I was like, don't need that. Janelle went after the shield. Other than that, 2 people jumped off for the shield. It was like, okay. And then they were like, you have 10 seconds left, and they're still in the water. And then they're somehow magically made it off, like out of the water in 10 seconds and got the $10,000. So I don't know. I mean, it was cool, but
hold on, let me jump in here. Like, I think this is like my first challenge of watching through the Traitors. Okay, I thought it was visually creative. I thought it was definitely a unique way to be like, yeah, we have these shields. You have the symbol of the shield to implement the shield for the game. I thought it was a nice unique twist, because then it throws the Traitors off their set. Be like, okay, we can't go for the this round. We can go for the next round, because you wanted to get rid of the cop threats. I think ideally they're trying to rely on the cops to make people feel like, if you really feel like you're gonna get murdered by a certain individual, you go for that. So
No, I understand. I like the shield aspect. That's not what I'm saying.
Not
I
only
understand the
that, but it
shields, and I like
also
the shields.
not only that, but it also you have to think, okay, who do we want to keep around that's going to win us money too? Like we're not going to chop everybody from the beginning because like we're all working on this together. We need to keep people around to win us the money too, which is why I see CT going far in this game. Like, you know, other than that, he would have been probably a first or second boot if they didn't have the challenges. So I think it really does kind of improve the dynamics between the people in the house. And I think they're fun to watch. I like them. I mean, some of them are even shady as hell, and some of them give clues as to, you know, who the traitors are or cast speculation like we'll see in the second challenge. But yeah, so ultimately in this one, we've got Janelle. She goes for the shield. She's like, fuck everybody. You guys are all still tied up. Work it out. Then we get CT going for the shield and Deontay goes for the shield.
can I just comment? Can I just comment on Janelle going for the shield right away? And everybody did not like that. They were like, "Why would you go for the shield right away? That puts a target on your back." And I'm like, "I agree. I would have waited maybe like untied one or two more people and then go for that."
But I mean,
that was
somebody was
kinda
going to
bad.
go. But the thing is, somebody was going to go after it. If it wasn't Janelle, it was going to be somebody else. So at the end of the day, like, does it really? Because if you think about it, like, if she didn't do it, somebody else would have. So we can sit here and like they can knock her all they want for it. But like, I mean, when it was you, honey, that got it, then they would have been like, well, you know, you're selfish too. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't blame Janelle for going for the shield. I think the way that she did it was like she went for it right away and then she came back and started helping with the challenge, which I commend her for. And I agree with, like, that's how I would have done it, because if she wouldn't have done it, like I said, somebody else would have, you know what I mean? And so I think, like, you just saw like CT and Deontay, they did it while they were in the water. They're like, see ya, you know, like, I'm gonna go get it. So I think that's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's just, you know, it's part of the game. But
Classic Janelle.
But I do
Classic
think that when we get through more of the challenges, like, I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind that anybody can think Janelle's a traitor. Like, I just don't think that anybody can think that Janelle's a traitor. And I think that she's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, classic Janelle. She's gonna come and play to win any advantage she can freaking get her hands on. Like, that's how she does. Okay, so they win the challenge down to the buzzer, you know, editing or whatever. $30,000 added to the pot. We get to the castle, and you know, there's a big brother alliance that forms, obviously between Dan and Janelle. And he's thinking of his options for who he wants to recruit, and he's between Janelle, or Dan is, I should say, the Janelle, Parvati, and Sandra. He's thinking, I need somebody strategic, right? But at this point, they still don't know who the other traitor is. Then we also get into that little beef between Peppermint and Trishelle, which, I mean, was so ridiculous.
But
Go ahead,
let me
Dan.
just comment on something. Okay, first
Go
the
ahead, Bert.
alliance and then the peppermint thing. Can you even do alliances in a mafia style game for the traitors? Because like, why is that even necessary? It's just like you're trying to like figure out which ones are the traitors. Yes, like you could talk to people and be like, hey, I think that person's a traitor. You could compare notes, but what is their alliances to do?
So I think
It could be,
it
I'll
can be
never vote
alliances.
for you.
Yeah, because I think if one of you is a traitor and one of you is a faithful, you can be like, I'll never vote you out. And then the traitor would never murder them, right? And then that way they can work together towards the end and be like, listen, I'm a faithful, you're a traitor. Which is why I think Janelle could know that Dan's a traitor and is trying to keep Dan around, because she knows Dan's a traitor, which is a strategy to drag him to the end, because then she can cut him at the end and be like, I cut the traitor, like, give me the money. So there's a strategy sometimes to keeping the traitors around if you know that they're traitors. Like,
Also, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm saying, like, but there's also the other strategy where like people want to just like automatically try to find out who the traitors are. But it's like, do you really want to banish the traitors super early? There's a strategy to both ways, right? So I definitely think that there is a strategy where you can work together to kind of like I think Dan and Janelle probably pregame somewhat. I mean, let's be real. And was just kind of like, hey, if one of us is a traitor, we're not going to murder each other. You know what I mean?
That's kind of fair. But also in regarding to the peppermint Trishelle like kerfuffle, that was a ridiculous segue with like.
Let's
going
get into
from
that
this
for a
forward.
little bit. I want to
Yeah.
say one more thing about that. You know, another reason why I could say you can play to alliances is like, hey, have you been hearing my name? You know, and people giving the heads up like, hey, it's going to be you this week. Like, I'm hearing your name in this room. Like, that's always good to know so you can prepare yourself going into the round tables. But okay, yeah. So we get back to the castle, and then we get Peppermint and Trishelle. Trishelle makes a joke like, "Oh, we were talking about our outfits, and you know, if I murdered tomorrow, it's Peppermint did it." To which Peppermint responds, she has a reaction. She goes, "Girl, like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I'm not the traitor." Um, which Trishelle then kind of takes and runs with, right? Like now she's I guess that reaction wasn't registering for her. Now she's on a warpath to paint the target on Peppermint's back, which is very odd because I know we had high hopes and expectations for Peppermint.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, like the whole like the whole comment itself, like it didn't make any sense. Being like, oh yeah, you know, you have a different style of clothes than me, and if I get murdered, you're the traitor. It's like you're just asking for bait and you're just trying to get yourself killed. I genuinely just don't get it. And also it becomes a main storyline in the next episode for some weird reason, which I'm gonna get to that later, but it's like, why are we here? Why is that the reason?
Well,
I genuinely don't understand.
I feel like it's so early on in the game that people have to find any excuse to get rid of people. And so I feel like because it's like the first week or whatever, the first day or whatever, I feel like there's not really, these people don't know these people, right? There's nothing that they're really doing. So it's like, oh, one person said one thing and it's like, okay, we got to go with that because there's too much drama. We got to get one of these people out. You know what I mean? Like, and unfortunately, that's just the way I feel like it, the first, even in like Big Brother, like you don't really have anything to base stuff on, right? So usually like the first week is kind of like they're doing too much or whatever, right? So I feel like it's kind of the same thing here where it's like you just say the wrong thing. And also Peppermint said something else that actually buried her. I don't know how to say buried
Yeah,
her
that's later on.
later on. So, you know,
We'll talk about that
yeah.
at roundtable when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so we end the episode going in, and the traders finally meet each other, and they are gagged and gooped, honey. We have Phaedra, which we called, and Dan Giesling, aka Judas, aka Big Booty Judy, the two traders of the season, the first two, and they have to recruit a third. And so their options are Larsa, Parvati, Sandra, and Janelle. Those are the four options. And they land on somebody who is not yet revealed, or later we find out is Parvati. Do you think that was the right choice? What do you guys think about them recruiting Parvati as the third trader?
I think it was smart. I think it's one of those things where I think Dan wanted Janelle, but I think selfishly he knew that Janelle could possibly know it might be too close for them to be able to work together if they're both traders. And people would probably already going to assume that they are working together, if that makes sense. So I think not choosing Janelle in this instance was actually probably smarter for Dan because he can have her as a faithful on the other side instead of having her be like a traitor. I also think it's kind of the same thing. You know, Sandra's probably always going to come after Parv, and Parv is always going to come after Sandra. So having Parv as a traitor, you know that she's kind of a bigger shield than you are, which is why I don't think Larsa would have been a good option because Larsa's not a shield. Janelle and Parv and Sandra are the shields. And then I think the reason for Sandra is because, again, like I think Parv already had the heat on her from day one. So I think that's the reason why they went with Parv, is because they could play it off like, oh, like, remember, like Larsa thought she was a traitor. Like we can kind of push her under the bus because she's already been kind of pushed under the bus already. That makes
The
sense.
same argument could be placed towards Parvati because yeah, like Larsa I put the blame using the jacket comment over towards Parvati, but it's just like, okay, now you have two suspects. I would have gone with someone who no one really like had sus up for more so like the entire time, kind of like maybe a Deontay, but he gives up more faithful vibes, so that probably would have been a weird shift. But maybe like someone, but maybe like definitely pick someone who was like more socially like integrated with the rest of the people inside the castle. So Yeah, like
But I feel like Phaedra's more like okay, so Phaedra, if you notice, is like more socially integrated than Dan is,
She's in a
right?
great spot.
correct,
She's in
So
a great
correct.
she's more
spot.
so she's the social aspect. And I think for Dan, he wanted somebody who was more of a gamer that he could bounce ideas off of. So I don't feel like he knew
Gravely
Deontay.
underestimating Phaedra, by the way.
Yeah,
Gravely, for
exactly.
sure.
But I do feel like he wanted somebody who he can bounce ideas off of and kind of game with, if that makes sense. Which is why I feel like he chose the ones he chose.
I wanted them to pick CT. I think CT would have been perfect. I think Phaedra and CT were hitting it off. Like, I think Dan probably could have hit it off with CT too. By the way, we're going to talk about Dan's game. I mean, but yeah, I wanted them to pick CT, but he wasn't on the table. I think, okay, you pick Parvati. She's already in some drama. Obviously, she's played these games. Dan even goes so far as to say, I think she's the female version of me. So, you know, they pick her, and I mean, I don't think she's doing that great of a job. I mean, I don't think she's doing a bad job. I just in that next breakfast, she was very, very nervous. Visibly nervous, I think. And that could be editing, but
it was kind of obvious. It really kind of was
right.
Yeah, it was kind of obvious.
But I mean, nobody really said anything about it. So I mean, it probably wasn't that obvious. It could just be the editing. Like, I mean, that's the thing,
that's what
though.
I'm thinking.
You know what I mean? Because like I noticed that this show does a lot of that where it's like I feel like Dan looks obvious too, but they're only saying Dan because he's not talking. Like, you know what I mean? But
there's
I feel
a
like
lot of reasons why they're saying Dan, I think. And we can get into that. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why they're saying him, but we have to talk about who they murder. So first boot of the season, who we got?
Bananas.
The bananas.
Johnny Bananas.
Okay, first off, we predicted this. We predicted Bananas was going to be first boot, whether a traitor or a faithful. I just did not expect that Dan and Phaedra would actually do it this early. I'm like, damn. Okay.
Actually, I think, okay, so what do we think about this? Because I know he's entertaining. I know he's like a polarizing person. But for me, like, I didn't mind him going first. I think it was actually like kind of a good move because people were kind of like, who would murder him? And also it could put the heat kind of more on like CT and stuff because it's like, okay, well, like who would murder Bananas, right? Because
it makes sense.
Whatever.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I needed him gone. He's been on 3 shows in the last year and flopped on all of them. Less is more. Bananas. Casting agents, lose this man's number. I am sick of seeing him over and over again. He's infiltrating every show.
And also, like, too, like, we've talked about this. Well, like, we kind of talked about it last time we touched on it. But Bananas has like this thing where, like, out of the last 12 shows he's been on, he's made it to the final episode. And every single show that he's been on in the last 12 shows. So whether it was the challenge, House of Villains, all the shows that he's done, he's made it to the final episode. So Bananas knows how to play these games. He knows how to get far. He knows how to butter himself up, whether people are coming for him or not. He knows, and he's made it far almost every single game he's played. He's actually been the first boot. Fun fact, 2006 was the last time he was booted from a show.
Wow.
First.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, his first show ever.
Yeah.
His first show ever, he was first boot?
Yes. His first season of the challenge, he was first boot.
So it's been like 20 years since he's been first
Get
boot.
him out of here.
I mean, I'm just over him. I mean, he can go at this point. He didn't really do anything.
Repo man.
And also, too, you have to think about this too. Johnny had the ability as well to win a lot of shields. So if you didn't take that opportunity to get him out, there could be a chance that you may not be able to murder him again unless he goes out in a banishment ceremony, because he more than likely probably would have been going for the shields every single time.
But here's the thing, though, to play devil's advocate on the Johnny boot, I think that this also scares CT because it's just like, oh shit, because me and Johnny carried them in the last challenge. If I'm gone, that means I potentially could be next, which means he's going to try to go for the shield every single time now. So yeah, you got rid of Johnny, but you also provoked CT to go for the shields for the rest of the game.
Yeah, but I feel like CT is not as big. I think CT, they don't really see. Fortunately for them, they don't see CT as a big of a threat as Bananas, because CT knows how to shut his mouth, unlike Bananas. So I feel like to them, they're like, okay, cool. Like Phaedra's good with CT. CT's not really on to us. He hasn't had good reads. It's fine. Like,
I would have seen Bananas even going in the first banishment ceremony, to be honest.
That's
Like even if he
that's
wasn't
fair.
murdered,
Yeah.
right? Like it's fucking Bananas, right? So and you don't need two challengers. You can do it with CT. Yeah, so I was hyped to see him go. And we called it like check. We're 3 for 3 right now with the
Dan
two of the
Trader
traders.
check. Phaedra Trader check. Johnny Bananas first boot check.
and I think we also said something about Parv possibly being a traitor. Like we were on the fence about it. Like we definitely thought Peppermint was going to be it, but I also was like, she could be a traitor. Like she could go either way with Parv. So
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I was thinking Peppermint, but then actually seeing Peppermint play this game, I don't think she would have asked to be a traitor, to be honest.
No, I think
She was a fan of the game. I think she wanted to be a faithful.
So, all right. So Bananas gets the fuck out. Woo! And then, they are kind of they make it to breakfast. Everybody finds out. Is it a gag? Do you guys think do you think they're shocked? I don't think the cast is that shocked. I mean, maybe
they
a little
were
bit.
though.
Yeah, I think they definitely were because I think they
Yeah.
weren't expecting Bananas to go out so early. And also, I think it was good of them to get rid of Bananas because, again, they were like, who's going to get rid of Bananas? Even though everyone said that they didn't trust Bananas, it was like everyone was like, who would get rid of Bananas? So I felt like, again, that just shows you, like, were they really going to get rid of him? You know what I mean? Maybe. But I think it was pretty decent because it was like, who's threatened enough by him to get rid of him?
And just to stay in the turret a little bit longer, I think Dan is thinking, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk with Phaedra. Like, she has no idea. These housewives have never played this game before. She has no idea. Like, I'm wondering, does she have it in her to kill people? This is Miss Phaedra Parks.
Yeah.
Listen.
I think he's
mortician
severely underestimating Phaedra, but I think by like the second or third episode he starts to realize that Phaedra's probably a lot better than what he thought she was. And I also think the thing is too is that Dan did his homework. He watched season 1, right? And I think he probably thought that he was going to be able to play more of like a Suri game because they're like the way that Suri kind of played was like, kind of the way that Phaedra's playing is the way that Suri played. But I think Dan thought that he was going to be able to play that way. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what he imagined that he was going to be able to do.
Dan was literally playing Big Brother in the Traitors. It's the exact same game. I'm looking at Dan. I'm like, why do you need to be all strategic? All you need to do is get the target off of your back. That is it. Yeah, you can form alliances, sure. Like, I still think that's debatable. You can still form alliances and try to like at least get your try to keep in close quarters with the rest of the people at the castle. But you don't need to be so strategic and like, ooh, like I feel like this person's like me. I feel like I can manipulate them. I feel like I could do this.
But also, like, you got to start throwing out names. Like, you got to start throwing out names. If people ask you, like, who do you want to go after? Like, you got to start saying something. You got to start having targets. You got to start saying shit.
Dan is playing his Big Brother game, a fucking 80-day game in 12 days. You cannot play the long game. You have to have answers. When somebody asks you a question for your input and you don't have an answer, that's going to fucking cause suspicion because it's giving you're not even trying to think who the fucking traitor is. If you can't,
because you are the traitor.
me,
that's how it is. Yeah,
exactly. Why are you not trying to find the traitors? Because every time we saw when, in the second challenge, when Ekin-Su is in the car and she asks him, what are your thoughts, Dan? And he's just like, oh, well, oh yeah, that sounds like something. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, you are giving these people fluff. You're not giving them anything to go off of.
And I'm just like so disappointed because I thought he was going to be such a good traitor, but I think he just came in with a chip on his shoulder. And I think he came in thinking that it was going to be a walk in the park and that he's Dan and all this stuff. And it's like, no, like, and also the second challenge kind of did Dan a little dirty. Not gonna lie, it also did
people dirty.
It also did Marcus dirty too,
and Peppermint.
So those 3 people, like when Dan saw his name, that should have been his flag. Like right then, he should have changed his game up. But he
maybe
didn't.
they did that. Maybe they did that to say, Dan, hey, do something. And he fucking still like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go for the shield. Like, dude. I'm so disappointed. I'm very, very, very disappointed. Okay, let's go to the second mission. All right. So we're in the second mission. It's 3 teams. They split into 3 teams of 7. It's $20,000 up for grabs. They have to run to these lock boxes and pick, between 2 of the, I guess, what are we calling them? House guests. They asked 3 questions and were surveyed. Who do you think is most likely to? So the first question was, uh, who do you think is, I don't know, the most popular or something, or was that the second one?
That was the second one. The first one's most influential.
Yes. So, and it's between Marcus and Larsa, to which most people voted Marcus. Okay, great. They do that. The second question is, who's the most popular? Is Deontay and Peppermint. There was a little back and forth. 2 of the teams thought it was Deontay and then had to go back and get Peppermint. They get it right. And then the third question is, who do you think is the most quiet in the group? And they put fucking Dan up there. And who else? Sheree? Was it Sheree?
I think it was Sheree. And it was like, who needs to speak up more? Was it like the question?
Right.
Yeah.
Dan Sheree.
And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, this is where I'm seeing like the challenges. Like, okay, they're fucking trying to
Stir the
plant
pot.
seeds
They're
for
really
these
trying to stir the
traitors.
pot.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not making it easy on them in season 2. Okay, so then everybody opens the thing. They get to the field of scarecrows. Looks so fucking cool. Like so.
Yeah, that was a cool challenge. That was a cool challenge. I'm not gonna lie, that was cool.
And they're ripping over these scarecrows trying to find the gold. I think they end up getting like, I think $16,000. And Dan gets the shield, probably to throw some of the scent off of him being a traitor. He's the only one to get a shield. But I don't think that's gonna cut it for Dan.
Well, like it was kind of like a double-edged sword, because it's just like the rest of the people could just think of it this way. If Dan got in the shield because of like his name was on the question, yeah, like it could have been like, oh wait, Dan could be a traitor but could also throw the scent off. Or he actually is the traitor, but he wants to take away one of the shield so that way he can murder somebody that he wants to. So yeah, Dan does have the shield, but it's not going to look good for him. That means we need to get for the shield the rest of the game. Like, it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to actively be going for the shields like this week, next week. Like, he needs to be going for the shields like Janelle, because in my opinion, like Janelle right now is the only one that really looks like a faithful and is like 1,000% a faithful. In my mind, like, if I was in the house, I would be like, well, Janelle's a faithful. Like, you know what I mean? So
another funny thing happens in the challenge. We've got John running
like Forrest Gump. Oh my god, I couldn't.
Booking it, like, and Tamara asking him, "Do you have an inhaler, John?" Because of course she has suspicion because of the whole breathing thing that came up.
I died.
This
so
cast
she's
is
like, John.
This cast is unhinged. This cast
Do
is
you
unhinged.
have your inhaler? He's like, fuck no, I don't have an inhaler, bitch. Booking it.
Listen. You can tell that, like, this is what I learned about this show. Everything people say, they take into an account. Even the
can and be used. It's like the law. Everything you can and do will be used against you in the court of law. It'll be used against you at the banishment ceremony. Literally, everything you say and do is used against you
in the court of law. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
1,000%. But I love John. I'm sorry. I'm here for John. Yeah. And I think it's like, there's obviously no doubt that John's a traitor. Like, there's no, like, these people should not be going after John because John is obviously not a traitor. And the fact that Tamara still thinks he's a traitor just because he's a politician is like mind blowing to me. Because even like later in the episode, like Dan and Parv are talking, they're like, obviously John's a faithful. Like,
yeah, you're just throwing out bullshit. You're just grasping at straws here. Oh, because he's a politician, like Tamara, bitch. Okay, and like if you're going, this is the thing. If you're gonna look into people's backstory, right, or what they do prior to here, look at the people who play these games before. That's what you need to be looking at. Not John, who's a politician. And like what?
And also, like, I'm surprised that more of the housewives haven't realized that probably one of them, based upon the numbers, is probably a traitor, which is like shocking to me because I'm like, there's 4 of you guys. If I was in that house and there was 4 Big Brother players or 4 challenge players that I had played with, I'm like, okay, one of us has to be a traitor. Like just numbers wise, there's no way that none of us wouldn't be one, right? And they're all female, obviously, right? So, and there's more women than men. So clearly, probably one of the statistics are one of them's going to be a traitor.
They're probably clocking, but they don't want to turn on each other yet. That's what I figure.
I think so. I mean, like, even like they're probably detecting more of Larsa or Tamara than Phaedra to me. I don't know, but like, even if they were like, if both of you or what you were saying to me in the intro stuff is true about Phaedra, then they probably would have clocked Phaedra too, but they probably just don't want to turn on each other yet because they wanted to take each other far regardless. So yeah, like you made a good point.
So we get back to the house, and the names on everybody's lips are Peppermint and for John because he breathes weird.
Because he said he has asthma, but then he doesn't have an inhaler, so he's not asthmatic. But he had childhood asthma, so there's a difference.
Right.
I would have been like, bro, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
It's giving traitor. No, let me stop.
Traitor.
So, yeah. So then Peppermint goes on this campaign because Trishelle has been talking everybody's ear off about how that reaction was so crazy. Like when I made that joke, which I don't think it was. I do think she just reacted normally. She was like, girl, like, why would it be me? Like, it wasn't nothing crazy. But Trishelle going Trishelle, and it's anybody but me at this point in the Traitors, right? So it's the first week.
So here's what I think. I think with Trishelle, I think she was expecting a reaction. It wasn't the reaction that she was hoping for. In fact, it was actually kind of worse than what she was hoping for. So because of that, she now probably has like, a buildup of anxiety or a buildup of like paranoia, being like, oh no, I said the wrong thing. Now I think Peppermint might be the traitor and that I could be killed. I'm like, Trishelle, you're doing too much. You are really doing too much.
You just said something, Berto, actually, that maybe triggered like something else.
Oh.
What if like she made that joke and she realized that the joke that she made was in poor taste, and now she's like, oh my God, Peppermint might come for me because I said that joke towards her.
So in what context?
So because she said like, oh, like if I'm murdered tomorrow is because Peppermint's a traitor. So what if she's like, oh shit, I just called this bitch a traitor. Like she might come for me, so I gotta get her before she gets me. Like what if she like, got caught up? I mean, there's people on the internet saying all kinds of stuff. Obviously, she's a Karen and this and that. And like that might be true. I mean, I don't know, but
for me, I don't like the online hate of people saying that she's a transphobe or whatever. Like that she's like all this stuff. Like it's a game, guys. Even if Trishelle didn't go after her and somebody else did, then they would be considered that, and I just don't like that shit. Like I get it. She's remorseful. She said she shouldn't have done it. She shouldn't have gone after Peppermint. She's spoken out about it, but it's a game at the end of the day. It is. And honestly, at the end of the day, when we sit down and we go through this table, there's actually other stuff that Peppermint did to herself that got her in the position that she's in. Not necessarily Trishelle. Trishelle's like kind of lit the fire, but Peppermint did it to herself.
Yeah.
And actually, Larsa was the one who actually pushed for Peppermint to go.
Well, Trishelle started it, and I'm not gonna say I don't know why she started it. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Like it was a stupid reason. I don't think Peppermint had a crazy reaction. But whatever. She's probably just all right. Let's get this bitch out of here. So, right. So then we get back to the house, and then because of all the drama that happened at the breakfast, Peppermint is trying to campaign, clearing up the issue that's happening with, Trishelle, like dropping her name or whatever. And she's in the kitchen talking to a group of people, and she has a slip up and refers to herself as a traitor instead of a faithful. That was the nail in the coffin for me, for Peppermint. Girl, you fucked up. You done fucked up, girl.
And they all peeped that too. Like, I mean, like Larsa was in there and was like, what? Did you just call yourself a traitor? And so that was kind of like, okay, like I understand mistakes happen. You're in this show. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more mistakes to happen to plenty other people. But at this point in the game, they have to find something to go after people for. And it's either the asthma or the outfit at this point. And
Right.
Peppermint already had just said that she was a traitor, which basically piles on to the outfit situation. So it didn't really help in that sense, you know? So
Yeah.
So we're at the round table. We're at the round table, right? We have, okay, it's John versus Peppermint. And you know, Max, my darling Max, he's so fucking hot, by the way. And oh my god, can that man dress? Is like, this is a non-story, this is drama, like this is just bullshit and gossip. Talking about, that was my best Ukrainian accent, I don't know how I did, but talking about the Peppermint shit. He's like, no fucking way is it Peppermint, I don't think so, like what the hell. But whatever, nobody's listening to Max. Lars is doubling down. You said you were a traitor in the kitchen.
yeah. So I think
Michelle's having her
like
moment.
Lars is definitely the one that like went after Peppermint Man in this one. So I mean, we can't just give Trishelle all the heat in this moment.
She was rubbing me the wrong way though when she was like, "Get your hand out of my face," because it wasn't even giving that. So like,
Yeah,
relax.
no, I understand, I get that, but I just think that the online department of Traitors is giving Big Brother online, and I just I'm not here for it.
I mean, well, that's not what we're here to do. I'm not here to label people either, but but she was doing too much. She was being like a little Karen-ish though. She was. But yeah, I mean, Peppermint gets voodoo. I mean, oh, should we talk about Tamara pressing John? You want to talk about that, Berto?
Oh, Tamara pressing John.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you
I
get
mean-
there? You didn't.
I don't think she's there yet.
Oh, you're not
She's
there
like,
yet.
you said
Okay.
you had childhood asthma or whatever.
Oh yeah, the
So
challenge.
Tamara started going in on John. She's like, well, you know, I asked you for an inhaler when we were running. If you have asthma, why you don't have your inhaler? Where is your inhaler? It was giving that, you know, like Nene Leakes when she's like, where is your scooter? It was giving, where is your inhaler to John? And John's like, hold on now. Like, I had asthma when I was a child. Like, and she's not letting him get out. Like, in typical Tamara fashion, she's over talking. She's like, you're not answering my question. Just really laying into this guy. Poor guy. Poor fucking guy.
Yeah, like just let the man breathe. Like, y'all, come on. Like, let the man breathe.
Well, actually, or maybe don't, because apparently anytime he breathes, everyone gets sus at him. So it's like, don't breathe.
But like, it's not his fault that he's like a heavy breather. Like, goddamn, like it's not his fault that he's a fucking heavy breather. Like, also, I'm sorry, but if I was on the show Traitors and they were going around and I had all this cast and production next to me and Alan's walking around me, I was like, dude, like I was fucking nervous.
Blindfolded, like you're in Guantanamo Bay or some shit.
Like, I would be so nervous. So it's like, can we blame him? Like Janelle's like, he's breathing heavy. Well, you know what, Janelle, you've been on like 4 shows. So you understand what it's like. Tamara, she has cameras around her too all the time. She probably knows what it's like. John has probably never had cameras. All he has to do is speak to old people all fucking day. Like, that's it.
And he's like 80 years old. He's 80
Yeah,
years old.
yeah, like,
You're gonna
yeah,
get
like,
a breathing issue.
Kind of a break.
Like, give him a break. Come on. Like, he's probably just a little nervous. You know, give the man a break. But anyways, Peppermint goes. It's a whole thing.
Peppermint is banished.
Yeah.
The first banishment of the season, episode 2. She's like, guys, you know, I'm a faithful. This pisses Max off. This pisses Sheree off. She's like, y'all freaking plotted and schemed on her. And then it also makes Deontay cry, which, hello, I was not. Listen, from our preseason watch of what Deontay was bringing, I'm watching all these clips of him talking about, yeah, I want to kill somebody in the ring, blah, blah, blah. I want a body. I was not expecting this man to be a giant teddy bear, okay? Like,
listen.
Well, I think somebody said too, like when you're not used to playing these social games where you get like attached to people and you become friends with people and you meet all these cool people and then you have to like backstab them, and people who haven't played these games, like it weighs heavy on them, which is crazy because it's kind of happened. We've seen it in like multiple shows before, right? With like people who haven't been accustomed to having to backstab people that they care about. And so I'm surprised it hasn't happened more with like some other people, but maybe in the future it will. Dante happens to be the first one.
Yeah, he was just like, I can't believe we just piled on this like beautiful person. I was a part of that. I know what it's like when people, you know, count you out and pile in on you. And like now I'm a part of that. And he's like fucking crying. Like, bless his heart. I hope he sticks around.
But then let's get to like his round table, the
him.
next one, the next episode. Come on.
Okay. So all right, we get to the next episode. What do we have going on? Oh, I guess they're, you know, Parvati meets them. She meets Dan and Phaedra. She's shocked. I guess they're doing a good job. How fun. And yeah, they think about who to kill. And basically they pick Marcus because Marcus is the most influential, right?
Yeah,
They're-
yeah.
they're
So,
Also,
yeah,
Go
so
ahead,
here's the
Robert.
problem with that, though. Here's the problem with that. Killing off Marcus also kind of looks at Dan being like, oh, so Dan is least likely to talk. They killed him because Marcus is most influential. Is Dan
yeah,
more
but I
likely
don't
to
think,
train
I
him?
think the thing is like, I think you're looking at it from the outside perspective. Like, I don't think that one, he's a couple, right? So like he was going to get killed off. Okay. And two, he told Dan that Dan didn't talk enough. And then three, he got
Yeah,
voted
which
most
also
influential.
looks at Dan from
But
like
nobody was there for that conversation besides
Okay.
Marcus, Dan, and one other person for that conversation.
I believe it was CT in the room.
So it wasn't like super like in front of a bunch of people, and then people are like, oh, that's why he got killed off. So he got killed off because he was the most influential, which honestly did him dirty, that challenge. Because
this is why we need the challenges. They
But-
help the game.
but like, no, I like the challenges, but I don't like the fact that it's like stupid for money. Like give them more like shit to fight for, is what I'm saying. Like a lot of them aren't going to fight for $10,000. Like they don't give a fuck. Like Michael Jordan is a billionaire. Like he doesn't care about $10,000.
But then he doesn't care about 200,000.
You know, so yeah, exactly. I mean, but whatever. I just wish that they would like throw more shit into it for them to fight for, basically. But I think, yeah, I think it did do him like a little bit dirty because again, he's the most influential. And I also think that I think this was a smart move. I think you have to break the couple up. I think you have to break up Marcus. I think Marcus is smart. He's starting to suss out Dan. And to me, I think the reason why Larsa thinks it's Dan is because I think Marcus tipped her off before he left. So I don't know if production was there or not, but to me, it's kind of weird that all of a sudden now Larsa's like, Dan, you don't talk enough and you're not giving us any information, which is why I think you could be a traitor. And then her man just went out because he had told Marcus because Marcus had told him that he didn't speak enough.
Isn't that what I just said, though?
Well, the challenge told Dan he didn't speak enough.
Well, yeah,
fucking
true. But then, like,
challenge
I'm
did.
just saying, like, going off of the information based off of the challenge with Marcus getting killed off because he was the most influential. I'm saying that, like, if you also go with like, you know, with the three questions, with Dan being like, oh yeah, you know, he like needed to talk more as like one of the questions. So if they look at Marcus, now they're looking at Dan, being like, hey, I think you might be the traitor. Because
yeah, but I don't think Marcus going has anything to do with that Dan being quiet. Like the only reason why I think that Lars is on to him is because one of the challenge, and two, because I think Marcus probably told her on the way out. Because let's be fucking real, Larsa doesn't have enough brains to put it together unless it's spelled out in front of her, which it was spelled out in front of her. Like her reasoning is that Dan's too quiet, which again, it was spelled out in the challenge for her that Dan is too quiet, right? And I think there's no way that Marcus probably didn't say something to her before he left. Like, let's be real. On that. So I think it's a production, and somebody was saying that, I think it was Tyson on Sharon's podcast, agreed with SB, where it's a production nightmare to make one a traitor and one a faithful. You can't, like, that's a production nightmare. And so they were saying that there's like absolutely no way that they would have to be traitors, a traitor and a faithful, because for production purposes, they would know that they would slip up and say something, which is why I think that Marcus probably said something to Larsa, to be honest with you.
I mean, like, here's the, like, fucking Dan is shitting it at these ceremonies too, but like, and we'll get into that. But I want to say, because we talked a lot of shit about Larsa, like, prior to this. I didn't think she had 2 fucking brain cells up there, you know. I was going in on her, but she is emerging as the voice of the faithfuls. She is putting fucking names out there. She is thinking things through, you know, like,
I think she's only going after Dan because she's saying red because she thinks Dan got rid of her man, and that's it. He did, but I think she was tipped off. I think without the challenge and without Marcus, she wouldn't have figured out Dan.
But I'm saying she's emerging as a voice among the faithfuls. You have to think too, because even with the peppermint shit, like, she was still outspoken, you know, like, she was, I mean, it was a wrong read, but she was using logic and reason for that. I mean, the bitch said she was a traitor, right? So, like, I'm saying she's probably one of the more outspoken faithfuls, which I'm curious to see if she's going to be able to put other things together, if she'll even be around long enough. I mean, I don't know, because she's dangerous, like, to have, especially for Dan, right?
I mean, Phaedra's got to be careful, because if Phaedra tries to keep her too long, they're going to know
will do
that
the same thing to her. Yeah.
But also, exactly. And the thing is that too, like, I think Phaedra has to decide kind of the Real Housewives, because Parvati and Dan are going to try to split up the housewives. They know that there's 4 of them, that they're a number, right? That there's 4 numbers, basically. They want to try to take away one of Phaedra's numbers. So they're going to try to go after a housewife, which we kind of see a little bit. And we'll talk about a little bit. And so I think, Phaedra has to be careful how much she pushes to try to keep some of these housewives in, because I think the more she pushes to keep them in, the more they're going to push back to get them out, because they're going to realize that those are Phaedra's numbers. You know what I mean?
So we got, you know, at the castle, like, okay, there's a stupid mission, whatever. It's like, they have to do all this stuff. Okay, we'll go into that in a second. But at the castle, basically, they're having conversations, and the names on everybody's lips are Dan. It's fucking episode 3, and they're clocking fucking Dan already, which I'm stressed.
That's actually embarrassing. That's actually embarrassing.
Right. We've got, like, Trishelle, Bergie, Ekansu, John, and Parvati are having a conversation outside, and she's like, oh, I think it might be Dan. He's too quiet, and, like, you know, like, fucking production with that challenge. Y'all really tried my man Dan with that challenge.
But Parvati does tell him, which is actually smart, which is why I think it was a smart move for him to keep Parv, because Parv goes up and says, hey, I'm hearing your name. They're saying you're too quiet, you know, like,
like
you got to be careful,
talk more, right?
You know, you got to be careful. So I think, you know, Parvati going up to him and kind of giving him something before shows that, you know, she's trying to work with him.
She's team Traitors, at least for right now.
Right now. Yeah.
And then Deontay, bless his heart, is like, it's Max, because Max is another one. He's going around this castle. He's popping into rooms and then just leaving, saying nothing. He's like, you know, they ask him for his input. I think it was Deontay and CT in the kitchen. They ask him for his input. What do you think? Who do you think, Max? And he's like, I don't know, and just fucking walks out. I'm like, damn it, Max.
Hold on. This is what he did, okay? He just goes up, walks in his room, and just be like, are y'all talking? And then, like, and then Dan and Sandra at some point, they're just like, oh yeah, no, you come in. And then he's just like, nope, I'm out of here.
Fade into the background, like into the bush.
I'm like, what are you doing? Trying to be Slender Man? Like,
and it's so awkward.
Homer Simpson gift.
The Homer Simpson, that's Max, the Homer Simpson gift. And the thing is, like, what's crazy to me is that Deontay actually, like, Max was like his bestie in the house. And so I'm like, Deontay, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Like,
what are you doing?
He switched up on me. Now he's not talking to me anymore.
Like, what are you doing? And so then I'm like, what are you doing? And the thing is, Max didn't do anything to help himself in this situation, because when he was confronted about it, instead of pushing it back onto Dan, because that's what he should have done. He should have somehow swung it back around to Dan, because Dan was the other target. He was like, let's talk about Janelle and Ekansu. Like, totally deflected off of it. totally made himself look more suspicious. And in my defense for Dan, as much as I don't like his game that he's playing right now, I think he did handle this roundtable pretty well, saying like, it's just my personality. That's just how I am. I think he could have done a little bit better of a job, but I think he did pretty decent to kind of like fake-hate it a bit. And I think he only did that one because Parvati also kind of tipped him off. So he was able to kind of come up with something because I think he knew he was going to get the heat, you know?
Yeah.
But I do kind of like the way that he kind of like fake-hated it, because at that point it was like, you can't be defensive about it. You know what I mean? And you can't do what Max did and kind of like try to defensively project to something else, because then the heat's on you. So I think he kind of got out of it in a pretty good way and kind of told Larsa, like, I'm sorry, like, I'll make more of an effort with you, you know, whatever. So, I mean, that's all you can do at that point.
See, this is a typical Dan move. Like, he apologizes, he gets into their emotions, but also just say, like, I'll try to be more like this for like in the future. Like, you know, it's well and good for Big Brother, kind of, but for the Traitors, it's like,
I mean,
don't know
I
if
just
people
think
are,
we
like,
I just think we
taking
can't I just think we can't count Dan out yet. I
I'm
think
giving Dan, and I'm gonna say
maybe
it
one or
on
two more
record,
episodes.
two
Yeah.
more episodes max.
yeah. I mean, but still, I mean, Cody went out early on his season, right?
Mhm.
I think that Dan could play a little bit better, but also like, listen, if I was in a house with Dan Giesling, I 1000% thinks he's a traitor. Like, even
Yeah,
if he
same.
says he's a faithful, like, even if he 1000% said I'm faithful, there's nothing he could say or do that would convince me that he's a faithful, like nothing. And that's why I'm pretty sure, like, there's no way that Janelle thinks that he's a faithful. Like, there's just no way in hell that I think Janelle thinks that he's a faithful, because like Janelle probably knows if Dan's going to come on this game, he's going to play as a traitor. He's going to be a traitor, like, you know? And so I think, to be honest with you, production did him dirty in the one aspect to see how he could get out of it. But also too, I think it was like, kind of like, I kind of wish he would play a faithful, because, you know, but then also people would also think he's a traitor. So I feel like either way, he's kind of screwed in the situation, because I think no matter what, people are going to think he's a traitor.
He could have done a better job as a trader. I do want to talk about the challenge real quick though, because okay, we in this challenge and fucking 2 for 2, Janelle getting caught up in a freaking scrap for safety, right? Like, this is giving James Ryan, BB7,
Yeah.
fighting over the fucking OTEV. She gets into it with Ekin-Su over the shield. Now, let's talk about this, because Ekin-Su goes back and tells everybody, I had my hand on the shield. Like, and she snatched it from me. Like, she's a bitch. She's selfish. She's like, oh, this. But Janelle was there way before her.
I went back and
Janelle
watched
was
it. Janelle had her hand on it first.
Janelle went to the thing as soon as Peter opened it. Janelle was like, can I get that? She's digging in there. And then Ekin-Su want to come from behind and try to go for the Berto, it happened. Janelle versus James Ryan in the veto happened in this show.
Yeah.
With Ekin-Su
With Ekin-Su.
over the shield. So Ekin-Su is over here. She snatched it out of my hand. How fucking dare she? She's so fucked up. Like, basically bad mouthing her to anybody who will hear it. And Janelle's like, no, bitch. Like, I had the shield first. I mean, what
no,
the hell?
Janelle definitely had it first. And also too, like, I think Janelle tweeted something today, which is funny, about the James Ryan thing. She's like, I'm like besties with James Ryan. Like, James Ryan is one of my best friends, and he'll never forget that day. Like, he'll never forget that day. And we still laugh about it to this day, that, like, you know, I went after him in a veto or whatever. So, you know, but I think too, like I said, like, I think there's no way you can think that Janelle's a traitor at this point. Like, Janelle is fighting way too, she's trying way too hard for these shields. So, like, obviously she's not a traitor. Like, it's clear, it's obvious. So,
or is she? So but we also have Bergie has a moment, because he figures out the pattern in the challenge is played at night. I mean, okay, 10s for Bergie. I mean, I'm still kind of like, why is he here?
But he needed,
I'm gonna give him his 10s for this little moment. Very
he needed
small.
the 2 housewives to come untie him in the first challenge.
Right. Here you go, Bergie. This is for you, the quietest clap in the world. You know, whatever. He figures it out, and you know, he has his moment, which CT was really cute about giving him props. He's like, yeah, he's stepping into his own or whatever, which I thought that was nice. But okay, they win $19,500. So the prize pot is now at $65,500. Ooh. And you know, yeah, and Bergie gets props. And so we get back to the castle, and it is time to have the banishment ceremony. This
We kind of
banishment
went through it.
ceremony.
We kind of went through it a little bit with Deontay kind of throwing Max under the bus.
This banishment ceremony killed me.
And like Deontay throws him under the bus. Larson, MJ are throwing Dan under the bus, thinking it's Dan because he's too quiet.
Well,
and
they say
then
that Dan is being too quiet, but
he's too
also
comfortable.
Dan's response is just like, oh, like, sorry, like, you know, I'm not I'm like awkward in the beginning, like, you know, I'll warm up, like, give me a chance. And Larsa and MJ are not buying this shit. Okay, they're like, that's really cute, but nah.
I'm
You're the
like,
traitor.
Dan, it worked the first 2 times when you played Big Brother. It's like, I think everyone caught on to your strategy, but you can't do the same thing numerous times.
But the thing is too, though, is that somebody was saying like, you can't really go and murder them now because they spoke up about Dan. So now Dan has to like kind of decide like, okay, how do I pivot against Larson? Like, does Larson and MJ have enough pull in the house that they could influence enough people against me? Or can I just kind of like leave them in? Because here's the thing. In one of the previews, I did see Ekin-Su say, why would I get rid of her boyfriend? So
Yeah.
like, I think there's a chance that the target could kind of shift a little bit to other people about Larsa's boyfriend. So I think Larsa will get murdered. I think that's the way Larsa goes out, or she could get banished too because she's just loud and people might be like, okay, like you're.
I don't see her getting
whatever.
banished.
No, I see her getting
Unless your
murdered.
reads are wrong and like you're the loudest person in the room, like Deontay. Yeah, then you're gonna get banished.
But see, I think they're gonna keep Deontay far because I think they think that Deontay has no the fuck idea what the fuck he's doing, and I think they also think that he is like emotional wreck. So
yeah, there's no way that
he's
he's
gonna drag him
traitor.
around.
There's no way that he's a traitor.
I think Phaedra's gonna drag his ass as far as she can. To be honest,
I see Deontay getting the Quentin edit, and Andy edit is gonna be Sheree if Phaedra makes it to the end. She's gonna try to take their 2 asses to the end. But fucking who saves Dan is really Deontay because he casts it on Max, gorgeous Max. He fucking says like, no, like you switched up on me. You're not the same Max that came into the house. You're moving around. You're being all like shady. And Max gets very defensive. He's like, instead of saying, no, I'm not the traitor, he's like, well, let's talk about what happened between Ekin-Su and Janelle. And like, just deflects entirely, which is something that a traitor would do. Bless him. And then CT's like, you see what you just did there? That's exactly what a traitor would do. Try to take the heat off of you by switching the conversation around. So then he goes, well, actually, CT, I was thinking the same thing about you. You might be the traitor. Dude, what are you doing? You are pretty as hell, but what are you doing, bro?
You're like, oh my gosh. Like,
he's a pretty face, but
the second you get accusatory, that's when you show off guilt.
Yep.
So basically, Max is the second banished celebrity. Take it from here because I gotta go get my charger, but you guys take it from here.
Yeah.
So Max basically comes out and is like, goes and basically comes up and he's a faithful. Like they come up that he's a faithful. And Deontay's obviously like really, really torn about it because Deontay was kind of the one that pushed him under the bus. She didn't just push him under the bus. He like chucked him under the bus and like ran the bus over him like 5 or 6 or 7 times. And that was like his best ally in the game. So obviously Deontay's like all like crying, like, I can't do this shit, man. Like first Peppermint and now Max. And it was like, you were the one that did it, honey. You did it for Max. Like, you were the reason why Max is gone.
You're the reason you threw your own ally under the bus, and you're the sole purpose on why he was out. It could have been Dan. You messed up, bud.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think like poor Deontay, and Phaedra's just there wiping away his tears, like, oh, it's okay, sweetheart. Don't worry about it.
He says
And
he is the champion of sending his friend home. Like, this is just so sad. Like, oh, she's just
Yeah.
wiping up those tears. Like, she is playing down. Okay.
yeah.
Playing
But let's just talk
down.
about the last thing that how the episode ended, because this is episode 3, right? That we're in.
Yeah. By
Yeah.
the way, I do want to say this really quickly. Like, fucking Larsa was like, as soon as Max got banished, she was like, I told you. And she is ice grilling the fuck out of Dan. She's like, I told you. Like, just grilling the fuck out of him. And Dan's like, you know, like, yo, they're onto his ass. They got his tea already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say this is going to be interesting because so the traitors go into like a confessional, right? All of them go into like a confessional, and they all have a letter there, and they're all wondering what the letter's about, right? And the letter tells them that they have to get a prop or something.
Murder in plain sight is the challenge.
And they have to go get a prop out of some room, right?
They have to go into the library and find the chalice among the William Shakespeare books, Hamlet, Macbeth, and something else. And they have to retrieve this chalice, and give it to somebody in plain sight to drink from. And that person is going to be the one that is murdered.
And if they don't do it, they don't get to murder anybody.
That is
and they
the
have a
challenge.
certain they have a certain time to do it. So automatically Dan and Parvati are in a room together, like, okay, like, who do we want to go after? Because Dan's like, I'm gonna let Parv do her thing on this, and Phaedra's like, I don't want to do it, like, you so whatever. So Dan and Parv get together, and he's like, I think we go after Sheree or Sheree, right? It's Sheree. And Dan's and Parv's like, yeah, but Phaedra's gonna be pissed. Like, we can't do Sheree. Like, Phaedra's gonna be mad. We can't do it. You know, she's gonna be mad. So then he's like, well, what about MJ? And Parv's like, well, I can get MJ if you want me to get MJ. Like, I can get her. You know, so I think they kind of decide between Sheree and MJ, right?
No, this is another thing where it's like, Dan, you're not fucking thinking shit through, because he's like, we're gonna fucking get Sheree anyway. She is the target for them. Okay. He's like, well, you know, who says we need Phaedra? Now you getting ahead of yourself too. Now you again underestimating her, getting ahead of yourself. You want to make an enemy out of your fellow traitor? Like,
yeah, and plus, here's the interesting thing is that, Dan, you're also in hot water right now. You're in no position to be making any demands. And the worst part is, even if you were to do the chalice in front of everybody, guess who Larsa's gonna pin the target on? You.
So
yeah, but
he's
Dan's
not
doing
the
it.
chalice.
He
gives it to Parvati, and he goes, it's Black Widow time. You're gonna do the chalice.
Yeah.
So
Parvati's doing it.
Yeah, Parvati takes on that she's gonna do the chalice, but they're basically, they in that room said, fuck Phaedra and what she wants. Like, we're gonna do what we want. So they have it in their mind, they're gonna get Sheree out, which is so stupid to do. I mean, we're at the second round table, your name is already coming up, and you want to piss off a fellow traitor?
Yeah, but then they move on from that. They move on from Sheree. They go to like maybe possibly MJ, maybe possibly Larsa, but would that be too obvious? Then Parv goes out there. Phaedra kind of sees that she has the chalice around Sheree.
Parv goes out there trying to get Sheree.
Yeah.
That's what she goes there
Phaedra
to do.
notices that she's trying to go after Sheree, and Phaedra's like, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to come over and sit over here and kind of like not allow that to happen.
Grilling her down. She's over here. By the way, the chalice is dusty looking. It's a rusty old metal ass cup. It's not going to be easy to get people to drink from this fucking cup. It looks like trash. And freaking Parvati's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the bartender tonight. Like, she's like just winging it with this fucking chalice. Like, she's trying to get it by Sheree, and Phaedra clocks her and is like looking at her like, bitch, don't you dare, because I'm gonna fucking take Sheree. I'm gonna just pull her hand and go talk to her over here. You're not getting my bitch tonight. Sorry, you played yourself. So Parvati's like, okay, well, can't do this group. Let me move on. And she goes to another room. And in that room, we have MJ. I think Trishelle's in there. I think John's hanging out in there. We've got
Sue,
Sue,
Bergie,
Bergie, and Peter hanging
Yeah.
out in there, and Dan,
and Janelle.
and Janelle. So she's trying with MJ, but MJ's a bougie bitch. I mean, she's a Bravo girl. She's not gonna drink from that nasty cup. So basically, she's like, I gotta pivot. I can't get neither one of my targets. Now I gotta see, okay, who am I gonna get? And that is where the cliffhanger, she sets her sight on her target. She goes for it, and we don't know who drank
So
from the
she's
chalice.
like, I see the perfect target. She's like talking about, she's like, it's Black Widow time. Like, I see the perfect target. I start walking over to the perfect target. Like the way she's like talking, I'm like, oh, she knows. Like she's
like,
got,
I'm like a spider crawling up.
Yeah,
to
that's what she
bite
says.
you is what
Yeah.
she says.
The way she says it's Black Widow time, I have a feeling she's going for a guy.
So 1000%. So somebody said this too as well. So if it were me, I would be like, hey, like I would find somebody who's already drinking, and specifically it's probably a guy who's going to be much easier to influence, and you'd be like, hey, like try this wine. I poured double, try it or something, and then they just try it and they don't even realize it because of that. But I think that's the thing, is you have to kind of target a guy who's already drinking, because most of the men are drinking already. So it's going to be easier for you to get a guy to just be like, hey, cheers, like try this or whatever.
Or you could be like, hey, does this taste funny to you? And like give it to somebody to like sip from. That's a good one. That's a good way to get somebody
Here's the thing.
to
Here's the
drink from
thing.
it.
Somebody said that too.
Here's the thing. I would have done it to Bergie, because Bergie is probably the most easiest person to convince. Be like,
I'm thinking it's Bergie.
Well, we think it's Bergie because, okay, in the preview, it's Bergie walks in and says, I was supposed to be dead. Did you hear that? When he
I
came
did
in
hear that, but I don't know, because they're not going to kill him just straight there. They're not going to kill him straight in the moment. So I don't know if it's because of that, or, I mean, okay, here's who it can't be. It can't be Peter. It can't be Janelle. And it can't be who got the third shield, Tamra, I think.
And it can't be Dan, because Dan's not going to fucking drink out of it.
Obviously, it's not Dan. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
But
so in that room, and she moved on from MJ. So, I mean,
it's got to be
either
Bergie.
Sue or Bergie or Trishelle.
I think it's Bergie.
It's gonna be Bergie. I think so too. He would probably be the easiest one to get. And then the next episode is titled The Funeral. So, you know, in the preview, when we see them walking all dressed in black to the graveyard, I think that's where they're gonna reveal who was murdered.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice,
And then I
think, nice twist.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting, because we're going to see if Parv gets any blowback from it, because if she plays it right, hopefully she won't. But if Bergie comes out and says Parv's the one that handed me the cup, then it could be like, you know, if depending on how they tell him, like, hey, you drink out of this like rusty cup.
I don't think they're gonna mention the cup. I don't think they'll mention the cup.
About that.
Isn't that part of the twist though?
I don't think they'll mention the cup. I think they'll say, you know, one of the traitors were challenged to murder you guys in plain sight, and here you meet your death. I don't think they're gonna say one of you drank from a poisonous glass or something. Like, that would be so fucking on the nose and actually ridiculous if they did.
But even
that.
then, though, if they say you were murdered, but even if they said you were murdered in plain sight, there was a challenge for you to do, Bergie's going to be like, well, what did I do that nobody else did? I drink out of this cup. He could put it together, and then he could be like, well, Parv gave me the cup. So, I mean, I'm not saying she's going to get blowback. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I mean,
it could happen.
It could happen. She could have some blowback, which is why I think Dan and Phaedra were like, go right ahead. Like, you do it, because they were like, if somebody's onto it about why has she been walking around with a cup all night, a second cup.
And I mean, maybe this could be editing, but she was looking a mess with that cup too. She was
and plus I think Parvati, and plus I think Parvati was trying a little too hard with that. A little too hard. Because if you try to oversell,
I think she panicked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she panicked too. Like, I mean, we can't like give her too much shit, because listen, like, if I was in that situation, like, I would probably be like, fuck, I'm panicking. Like, I couldn't get Sheree to drink it. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, Phaedra's looking at me with,
I have to pivot.
Yeah, like Phaedra's looking at me with devil eyes, like she's gonna kill me. Like, let me try to pivot. and like they only have 20 minutes or something to do it, right? Or like a certain
Well,
time.
yeah, I think they have to. Yeah, they have like there's a party happening or something, and they have to do it in that window.
Like I would be like fucking like fuck, like drink the cup, just fucking drink it.
Oh no. So so here's things that I see happening due to this challenge. Um I mean, Dan is obviously like just final thoughts. Like he's in the fucking thick of it right now. But I think they really fucked up even targeting Sheree, like, because that's showing Phaedra we don't give a fuck like about you as an ally, like
Mhm.
that might give Phaedra incentive to turn on them earlier. And Phaedra is playing great. She's got everybody's ear. She's doing a good job of what Dan's not doing, being like, oh my God, like I'm just so happy it wasn't me. Like, she's over here making friends. She's working the room, like everybody's bestie, like kind of how, Suri was doing. I think what Dan needs to do is he needs to, okay, you want to play like Suri? Even fucking Suri, when a name was brought to her, would be like, oh yeah, that's a good point. It really could be this person because da 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 da. You have to give people something.
Yeah.
He made it a point to say at the round table, like, I just don't want to throw names out until I'm sure. But that's not giving me anything. Because if you give me an answer like that at the round table, I'm gonna be like, okay, so who do you think is the traitor? Who do you suspect? Quickly, right now. Because then
Yeah.
that's gonna tell me on the spot, have you been thinking about the traitor?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I think he's definitely like, I think it's again, like, but I do think this game is hard to have somebody like Dan Cass on the show because again, like I think Dan's gonna be a target no matter what. Like I really do. I think there's no way around it that Dan's gonna be targeted as a traitor, whether he's a faithful or a traitor. I think they're gonna think he's a traitor either way. So
he's gonna go soon. I would say if not at the next banishment ceremony, definitely at the following. I'm
I-
gonna give him that.
did you guys notice that Parvati, when she voted Kevin, she put a D and scratched it out? Did you
Yes.
notice that? So
Mhm.
I think she was trying to throw people off to think that I think she was trying to play good with Dan as well and be like, listen, I was just gonna try to like be like, oh yeah, like I might think it's Dan. Like, I don't remember what somebody was saying, but somebody was saying that like she was trying to like kind of throw people off. Maybe she thought it was Dan, and then they convinced her that it was Kevin.
Nobody convinced her it was Kevin. She said, Kevin, I wrote you because you're an actor and I think you could be playing the traitor. She was the first one to say Kevin. So
But I'm saying, like, I think
she
how
wrote
does she play that
Dan
off?
because she's trying to get in good with the housewives. I'm taking your thing into consideration. I like with Larson then. I hear what you're saying. I'm taking that into consideration, but I just changed my mind. I don't think it's Dan. I think it's Kevin because he's an actor. I think she
But
was
somebody
playing
said to
the
somebody said
housewives.
Peter could have said something to her like, hey, we're gonna come up with this like brilliant idea, and she was like, oh great, like let's go with it.
No, Peter came up with that like a dumbass with Kevin. They were like, "Oh, bro, I think people are clocking that we're getting close, so you should vote for me, and I'm gonna vote for you, so that people don't know we're working together. But don't say anything. We're just gonna vote for each other, so that people separate us."
The
Good job.
fuck? Like,
Good job.
that was
like-
unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
but I think it's going to be interesting because I definitely think like it was like spoiled today on Twitter that we have some twists coming up with a couple special guests. So it'll be interesting to see when those guests come in and how they play into this whole thing. If somebody comes back, if they don't come back, we'll see kind of this whole thing. The preview was kind of interesting because, like I said, Bergie did come into the room and said I was supposed to die. So
Then we hear Parvati say she's supposed to be dead as well, which I
Yeah.
clocked, and I was like, huh, who's she talking about?
yeah,
Then we've got, Twitter saying Kate's coming back. Kate Chastain from season 1. She was fabulous. She was probably the narrator of the season, other than Suri. She's coming in as a player. I'm hoping she comes this next episode. I'm hoping she
I
comes
feel like they
in.
have to.
With the funeral, they could be like, oh, one died, and so we're bringing another one in. Like, I'm hoping they bring her in soon. But
Yeah.
then they're saying, then we see Dr. Will is in the preview. Like, what the fuck are you doing there, Will? If you're not there to play, I don't need it, to be honest. I don't need a cameo. I don't need you to host a roundtable or a challenge.
Listen,
That's old. That's tired.
I agree. Like, unless you're gonna
Listen.
play, don't show up.
yeah, like, and here's the thing: if if Will would have played, would have had such a missed opportunity to have a Dan versus Will. Such a missed opportunity. I
And
was dying
Janelle?
for this. And Janelle.
Like,
The thing is, like,
That would be
Dr. Will,
so-
Dr. Will is too much of a chip on the shoulder. He wouldn't want to lose. His ego would be bruised if he went out early. Let's be real. So yeah, I think it's hard to put Dr. Will in this too, because however, I think it would have been good for Dan to have somebody like a Dr. Will in there, because I think people would have also sussed that Dr. Will was a traitor, which is why I
But
think
your
it would have been hard
legacy-
for Dr. Will.
your legacy is not at stake, Dr. Will. This is a new game. Okay. And like, here's the thing. So, another thing that was mentioned in the preview is something about a secret player. And, this person looks to be in a cloak, which gives me the idea that they'll be a traitor of some sort. I originally thought it was maybe going to be Kate because she's coming in late in the game. But now I'm kind of thinking, what if it's Dr. Will? I'm hoping it's Dr. Will, and maybe he makes a move here or there behind the scenes and then reveals himself or whatever. Like, because if it's something like that, okay, Dr. Will, that's cool. But if you're just like a special guest, like just coming in to show your face, it's like,
we don't need that.
No, you could have stayed home.
They did say Kate is coming into play. Now, I
Yeah.
think that is kind of so here's the thing. If Kate's going to come into play, are they going to somehow give her safety? Because one, I don't think it's really fair that people are going out and she's coming in like halfway through the season, which is kind of bullshit.
Or she's coming in the first, hopefully if she comes in the next episode, whatever, the first 2 days or so. I know she just had a baby, so that might be a reason why she's late, but she does have the advantage of playing the first season. So that's huge,
Like, I just think it's like kind of a huge advantage to her, to be honest, to come in so late, but also a disadvantage. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play it in, how they play with her, to see if like they make her a traitor, so that way she has the most information going into the game, knowing kind of like, okay, who are the other traitors, because the traitors are the people that have the most information in the game, right? So do they make her a traitor to kind of give her an advantage since she's going to be at such a disadvantage coming in late? Or make her the secret player kind of thing, like how you were saying,
Yeah.
where she has some sort of power, because I feel like there's not really any way for them to bring her in this late
It's gonna be
and
tough.
not give her a power of some sort.
She's gonna need a power.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so kind of this is what I want to know. Like, who has changed your mind from your initial thoughts of gameplay to now and what you're seeing? Who do you
Dan
think has
disappointed me, not gonna lie. He disappointed me. I honestly thought he was gonna do so well, and then next thing you know, he just slowly his big brother era got into his head, and I'm like, you gotta play the game differently. It's like,
But see, that's the thing though. Like, I said that before when the cast was released, people were like, they're going to make Dan a traitor. And I'm like, okay, but Dan is going to be known as a traitor no matter what. Like, Dan is going to go out early, whether he's a traitor or a faithful.
Well, he's not known because of his reputation. It's not his reputation that people are clocking him as a traitor. It's how he's playing the game.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think that
But
needs
that's how
to
he played Big
that's-
Brother.
But they don't know him like that. They don't know
Only
him
Janelle
for his
does.
reputation.
But
They
they
know him
do,
for
because
how
they've
he's playing the
said
game.
they've said that they like Phaedra's like, I know how Dan plays. Like, Janelle knows how, like, they do. Like, if I was in that house, and Peppermint's a huge fan of all these shows. Trishelle is a huge Big Brother fan. Huge. Trishelle knows Dan and knows Dr. Will very well.
That's
No,
not why
like-
they're clocking him. They're
No,
clocking him
like-
because of how he's playing.
I
that's what
understand
I
that,
think.
but I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, I think it was a misstep. I do. I think it was a misstep for them to make Dan a traitor. I think that no matter what, Dan is not the type of player that can play a game that isn't the way that he's playing it currently. And I think the way that he plays the game currently, just like the way he played Big Brother, makes him not be able to play this game very well, to be honest with you. And so because of that, I think he's automatically going to have a huge target on his back because of the way he plays, because he's manipulative, because he plays this type of game all the time. And I think that it's just there's no way. It's like Johnny
He
Bananas.
didn't
Like
pivot. He didn't pivot his game, which
No, that I agree. He does
that you have to adapt to. This is not Big Brother. You don't have fucking 12 weeks or whatever. You have 12 days. So you were
And I
playing
think-
the long game. You can't do that. You have to be throwing fucking names out. Anybody but me. Like what Berto said earlier. You have to be pushing the target off of you, not
Yeah,
just playing coy
agree.
and
I think
playing in the shadows.
I think he came in with the chip on his shoulder. I think he came in being like, I'm the best. I want to be a traitor. Give it to me easy. I got this in the bag. It's gonna be fine. I can do
wanted him
this.
to be a traitor.
I
I'm
can
just
do that.
disappointed in how he's playing it.
But I think the world said, okay, you want to be a traitor? All right, well, we're gonna make you play as we're gonna make it hard for you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it's his fault that I don't think he's playing the Traitors. He's still playing Big Brother, right?
Yeah.
People that have changed my mind, I'm gonna say fucking Larsa and I'm gonna say Deontay are changing my mind. I did not think they were gonna be like how they did. I'm telling you, I thought Larsa had freaking 2 peanuts up there in that brain. I did not think she was gonna be even clocking or trying or throwing the finger. I mean, she fucking and she's outspoken. She fucking went for party 5 minutes at the fucking round table. She's out here pointing.
Listen.
I'm just gonna do one last quick, and then I gotta head out because the Rams are playing and it's playoffs. But I'm just gonna say who changed my mind, and then I'm gonna dip. I think Peter is gaming more than we think he should have, which I also don't think is very smart because people are going to be like, you're over gaming. But I'm kind of surprised that he's actually like gaming. Like I didn't really see him doing that. So he's kind of surprised me. And I would say I'm not shocked by Janelle, but I think that Janelle coming in and playing again, I mean, I guess I'm not really shocked by that, but still I like the fact that Janelle is like not playing a bullshit game. Like she's like
playing
give
down.
Give me my shield, bitch. You know what I mean? Like
right.
She don't give a fuck. And so I think I like the way that Janelle is playing the game. And I think the other person that's kind of like giving me life also, obviously Phaedra, I'm not surprised by how she's playing. But the other one that's also, I think, is playing a good game right now that we haven't seen is Sandra, which I'm not surprised by, but I'm surprised by the edit she's giving.
She got a bad read though.
I'm surprised by the edit because I feel like she's not playing that great so far, but also she hasn't really been existent in the show at all.
She got all of 7 minutes in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I'm just kind of shocked by that, to be honest. So
same.
Go ahead,
again,
Sandra.
Maybe Sandra's like, because the thing is like Traitors so different than Survivor and Big Brother, right? So like these players, I kind of noticed maybe they're like struggling a little bit because it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like it's not the same. And even the challenge is kind of a bully mentality. Like we're gonna pick this person and everyone's gonna vote in this person, right? So I would say that the most surprising to me would be Peter. I would say, and I would say Peter's probably the most surprising because I'm surprised he's got smartness in him.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. We know you got to go to your game.
Bye.
We'll finish it out. But
let's go Rams.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye. And then I'll wrap up mine with like saying that the ones that really actually surprised me, like, even like going into, with the Traitors itself, I think that I want to see someone like Phaedra on Big Brother. I really do. She's
eating, right?
She's like she's perfect for this. Like I really hope she wins. That is a great cast for like something like this. I would say what also surprised me is Sandra not giving much airtime at all.
It's still early days.
Yeah, true. But it's just like if she gets a purple edit this entire time, I'll be incredibly shocked.
Right.
Yeah.
You know who else kind of shocked me is John. I'm living for John. Him and his little run. He is so funny.
Listen. Listen, John is like you know, like what do you call like the jester of the show, where like he
Give
just goes
John
in
his
there,
10.
where like he just goes in there and just be like, what's going on, Saya? Like I have freaking asthma right now. I can't really breathe on the top of my nostrils. I don't know.
I may or may not have asthma right now.
I miss yeah.
Yeah, John is hilarious to me. I mean, my opinion changed. I was impressed with Max. I think, well, to a degree with the whole peppermint situation. He was the only one that was like outspoken about that. But he got booed, so oh well. Gone too soon. The prettiest guy in the room.
Mhm.
Um, but yet Larsa freaking man, she's on it. She's coming in hot. She's
Mhm.
freaking pointing fingers and she's thinking shit through. Like I know, Kim was like, well, Marcus probably told her, but if they keep her around too long, she's gonna be clocking because she has no problem
Here's
saying
the
what's
thing.
what.
Here's the thing. If Larsa starts getting misses late in the game, then what Kim might be saying might be true. But if Larsa keeps clocking these stuff, I don't think it's riggery. I think like she's
We
actually
might
knows
have
what
to
she's
give it
doing.
to her,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. You might want to give it to her on that.
We might have to give it to her, but it is early days. CT is doing great. Everybody loves CT. Phaedra loves CT. She even says she had a crush on him. Like she loves CT down. Like my winner pick. I mean, I wanted Dan to win this so bad. I love Dan so
But Dan
much.
is botching it.
But
He's botching
Dan
it.
is about to get booed up. Yeah, he is choking right now. And I'm curious to see if he can get his way out of it. But unfortunately, I do think it's curtains on Dan. Um, Phaedra, like them doing that charade shit, that's not gonna fly good with her. So now she's not gonna be protecting their ass. Um, Phaedra is doing phenomenal. I see her taking Deontay and what's in it and Sheree to the end if she fucking can, right? But yeah, like those are the ones that those are the ones to watch for me. If Dan goes in the next two episodes, like I anticipate, I'm wondering if they're gonna recruit. And I'm thinking if they do recruit, the person to recruit would be possibly Janelle because people are not fucking with her going for every single shield. They are like, I mean, she caught some votes at the last round table as well because they were like, either you're a traitor. I mean, I can still vote for her. Either you're a traitor or you're really selfish, faithful, is what Sheree said, and voted for her fucking ass. So
Hmm.
Janelle, she might have to calm down too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But here's the thing: like, even if they were to recruit Janelle being a traitor, that would be a bad move because either way, if you were to recruit her and if she starts dialing back on the shields, they're gonna catch on to that. So at this point, you might as well just grab for every shield that you can get. And if she went from faithful to traitor, that's a bad move for them. So I would just leave Janelle alone. Like,
But they could do that because if she starts going for every shield, right?
mhm.
The faithfuls might want to get rid of her ass anyway, so they could get a chance at a shield. So then she's a shield for the traitors. You feel
That's
me?
fair.
Like we gotta get this bitch out of here if we want a chance at a shield.
That's fair. That's fair.
Maybe. Oh,
And
but it's getting good. Dan, you in danger, my boy. You in danger.
I never
Berto,
thought.
as a first time watcher of the traders, your final thoughts. I'm gonna let you close it out. What you
Oh my
think?
God. It is such a phenomenal show. Like, I think it is definitely one of the best reality shows I have seen in a while. I cannot
By
wait
far.
by far. I cannot wait to see the next episode. Like I'm actually stoked. Like, I cannot wait to see what happens for the rest of the season. It's great.
You gotta go back and watch season one.
I have a lot of homework to do. I will get to that. But yeah.
All
But
right, well,
yeah.
that is it. Episode 2 of the Game On Bitch podcast. It was super fun talking about this show. I am so excited to cover the rest of it and see, if our predictions shake out. See more backstabbing, lying, scheming, and murder. Let's get it.
Can you tell me? It was me? Yeah.
We're gonna run a jury clean.